Welcome back to the United Pubcast for your Friday Night Pint. Got podcast regular Rob from It's a Football Thing back with me in replacement of Larry. I'm not sure where Larry is. He said he might be home, but have not heard from the great man. So thank you, as always, for Rob for filling in. And interesting week at Old Trafford, Rob. It seems so busy. So it is the way we start the Friday Night Pint. So looking back at the week that was and the week ahead, it seemed a busy week, but ultimately it wasn't. Nothing's been done. Well, maybe there has been stuff done behind the scenes. Who knows? Time will tell. But first things, how you keeping? And also, what have you made of the? Can we call it a busy week or the quiet week at Old Trafford?
Well, it's definitely been our Twitter admin has always been busy as usual. We've had a lot of training footage that they're splitting out there and trying to get everyone excited with, and you know, we all kind of fall for it and get excited. We've all seen.
That's what I mean. Trying to get excited, it worked. Yeah. It got everyone excited.
It did, especially the Ten Hag footage. But yeah, look, you know, it's already gone viral. Some of that footage, just him on the training pitch. So yeah, look, it gives everyone a bit of a fresh start. You know, that actually someone looks like, you know, even with his assistant managers there, kind of they're doing drills with the boys. You know, it's like that every season. But everyone gets the training. We all get, it's a new season. Free to dream again, but look, hopefully, there's been a lot of talk, transfers, obviously nothing official yet. So yeah, I was expecting something to drop today. Hopefully, maybe even Christian Eriksen on the free or something like that, like as you said. But again, we keep waiting, and hopefully something happens soon.
We'll definitely get into transfers. And you called. I said a couple of weeks ago that I thought Christian Eriksen will be announced today. Here I am still awaiting the kit announcement, let alone a player announcement. So still fingers crossed Christian Eriksen is announced today, but you'd think there'd be a little bit more noise if that was going to be the case. So I don't think that is going to be the case. It does look like maybe the young left back from Holland or even this Ajax defender, maybe even a little bit closer. But I'm sure we'll get into Christian Eriksen, but I'm sure that has to be done. So just for his own sake. Surely he wants to get on with pre-season. Now, just on that, you mentioned Ten Hag's training. Are we the first club back in regards to actual training on the pitch? I know Ten Hag did want to come back a little bit earlier, but have you seen any other clubs floating around the training ground yet?
I believe we are the first. Apparently, he brought the date forward a week, even though obviously a lot of players still aren't back yet. You know, all the youngsters are there. I think a week before everyone else. So look, he wants to get on the pitch again. He wants to get to learn personalities. He wants to start drilling his mentality into the team. And look, that's all good, mate. People that want to be there, especially. Yeah, like your Rashford, your Sanchos and stuff that went on international break. This is their time to, you know, show just before they go on a preseason tour. Okay, I'm serious. I want to show you what I can do. Hopefully have a big preseason and hopefully have a good start to the season.
Well, you always feel those players, and this happened when I was playing. It obviously happens in the greatest example in the professional level. Those players who do come back a week earlier, you can get a head start. If you take your opportunity, if you're a week fitter than your sort of rival for your position, if you can start that first preseason game and you play well because you're quite fit, okay, suddenly you play well, the manager thinks that's a good performance and you can continue on that. Suddenly, 3 weeks later, you're at the start of the season. If you're a week ahead of someone, if you're a left winger, Marcus Rashford, and you're a week sort of fitter along the lines of another winger, you're going to start that first game of the season. And then if you're in that confident vein of sort of mood, anything can happen. So these players do need to take that opportunity, which I'm sure they're going to. I'll just say good day to some guys in the chat. Good to see you all enjoying a drink on a Friday night. Board Shade Football Capital, as always. Dion, good to see you, mate. Emed, counting the days till Melbourne. Actually, I'm sure all these boys down in Melbourne as well. And Matt, obviously, as well from the Supporters Club. Good to see him on Monday night at Scruffy Murphy's.
We'll be watching the game 2 weeks' time this time.
It will be, yeah, Friday night, yeah. That is coming quick. That is coming around very quick, Rob. But speaking of what the Man United will be here in 2 weeks down in Melbourne, and they will be playing a football match. Obviously, wearing a Manchester United kit. We're going to go a little bit live earlier with the release of the new kit and say, what do you think? Man United have given me the middle finger and said, no, we're not going to release it. I'm sure they'll release it as soon as we hang up this call. But we all do know what the kit is. We're just sort of, it's like a signing. We all know who the signings are going to be. You just want that official announcement. We all know what the kit looks like. We just want that official announcement. I don't know why. We're just all kids at heart, I think. So we'll just bring up sort of, can we call it a leak? The leaked version of the kits. We all know what it is, but just your thoughts. We'll quickly move on to the football stuff in a little bit. But obviously the home kit. I'll get your opinion. Just my opinion. I don't mind it. The collar. The red triangles. For me, just the white color would have been fine.
Yeah, I'm the same. Don't get it. Look, I think I always end up warming up to it. Even sometimes when I haven't liked the kit, I always end up warming up to it. The thing I don't like the black stripes on the shoulder. For me, if they were white stripes, I think it'd look much better. And again, if I'm going to be a little bit picky, I just this year I'm not a massive fan of the sharp shield around the crest, but look, some people like
Yeah.
it. I would have been happy with just that. White stripes, and I reckon it'll be a banger. But yeah, I
The
don't
collar,
understand those little triangles, as you said.
yeah, Matt here with the collar has to go. And look, I like a collar. The collar always has to be right, though. And they always try something fancy with a collar, no matter what the club. I think Arsenal have a very similar, obviously sponsored by Adidas. Adidas use the same template for every single club, and they've done something quite similar with their collar from everyone. I just think just a plain collar, just something simple. And Dion here, it's fine. Yeah, look, I agree, it's fine. And I think when you see someone in, I'm sure Ronaldo will make the kit look very good, sort of thing. But just before, and this hasn't sort of been rumoured as heavy, but it is out there and it does look very reliable. But the away kit, now, Rob, I do like this one.
Yep,
The away
I
kit,
do
still
like
the collar, I don't understand what the different colours are there, but overall, that's a pretty nice kit. I'm giving that a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll be buying this one before I buy the home kit. I'm just trying to think. At the moment, I'm thinking Sancho on the back. I'm just worried my typical bad luck. I'll get Sancho this year. Next year, he'll get the number 7, and I hate that.
Yeah. No, there's always that sort of, I don't know what the word is. There's always that risk with getting the players. And I think anyone who is thinking of getting a player sort of on the back of their kit, it's not something I do anymore for that one reason, or you don't want a player to be burnt, to burn you in a couple of years' time. But the squad numbers obviously all do come out. It's pretty much a week before the season. So if you see a player wearing something in pre-season, that's not necessarily the number they're going to wear. I think the numbers do get officially sent through to the FA and Premier League that week before the season. So do be careful there. Eman, happy with that kit. Butcher here, 10 out of 10. Dion, a big fan of it, as well with Matt, and my mum's also tuned in. I prefer the away kit. If you do want to buy me a Christmas present, Mum, the kits will be a bit cheaper around then. Feel free.
Christmas in July, mate. Christmas in July. We have to get it now.
Exactly. And yeah, I think Borche nailed it here. The stripes on the white kit is black and red, not all red. So yeah, it'll be interesting. That is technically a leak, so it will be interesting when the official one. They'll probably announce or unveil that one down in Melbourne in a few weeks or in Bangkok for their first game. But the kit should be announced sometime today. So do everyone in the live chat, please keep scrolling through Twitter and let me know if there is any breaking news. One with the kit, but also news, because transfer news is sort of breaking every 20 minutes, and you do have to sort of find yourself throughout the day just scrolling, refreshing all the sort of reliable journalists, see what they've got to say. And there has been one or two sort of little bit of updates, because we'll start on Christian Eriksen, because there's not much news around him, but the news around Christian Eriksen, the date. July 1st, I said a couple of weeks ago that I thought he's going to be a Manchester United player on July 1 because he's currently no longer contracted. Brentford, we've all seen, it hasn't been made official, but Paul Pogba, Juan Mata, or Edison Cavani, these players, Jesse Lingard, today they're no longer Manchester United players. Okay, Christian Eriksen is no longer a Brentford player, so you can deal with free transfers now. I assume Paul Pogba will be made official with Juventus over the weekend, sort of thing. I thought it would happen. It's gone a little bit quiet. Do you think that's just sort of standard, and they're just sort of dotting the I's and crossing the T's, or do you think there is a potential stumbling block with the Eriksen move?
I think there's potential for a stumbling block, to be honest. And I reckon it's not just between, everyone keeps saying between us and Brentford. I still have a feeling someone else could be in for him. There's rumours Newcastle might be trying to enter and throw a little deal at him. And look, I think whoever's going to give him the game time at the end of the day, but if it's between us and Brentford, look, we know the loyalty card would be there, but it's a no-brainer. Even if he's not going to be starting every game, there's plenty of games. Like, we're going to go deep in, surely we're going to go deep in the Europa League. We're going to have, the normal season plus cup games compared to someone like a Brentford. Even, there's a possibility, touch wood, it doesn't happen. But if someone does, like a Bruno, get injured, it's obviously going to up his game time as well. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm happy to welcome. He's obviously trained with Ten Hag at Ajax just before he got signed with Brentford again. So there's that connection. I think he'll be a quality player. We need players to come in. I've said it, any kind of player at the moment. We've let so many go. We need players to just even be there for the bench, just to have a bit of a squad.
I think that's the thing. We look at it and we talk about sort of how bad we were last season, and we need to improve, and we need to sign these players to improve. We were already weak last season. We're not stronger now. No matter what you think of these players, Lingard, Mata, Cavani, Paul Pogba, all these players, they've all left. We're considerably weaker than now. Obviously, we haven't kicked a ball this season. There is still plenty of time, and obviously, we will sign players. But you do need to get a wriggle on, because obviously we are in training. We're far weaker than we were this time last season, and it is that interesting one. You make a good shout there with Newcastle. I haven't heard that rumor, but that does make sense, and that would United and Brentford. It's United now. Obviously, there is that loyalty card as you mentioned, but it's a no-brainer. If you do throw Newcastle in there, that is, look, for me, it's still 100% Man United, but that it would sort of potentially be appealing if they make him sort of their main man. You could understand that sort of maybe that is a potential stumbling block with Christian Eriksen. Matt here, we'll get on to De Jong in a little bit. I think they want De Jong on the books first, possibly. I think there's always sort of rumours and theories in regards to that, and there's always a theory we're going to hold the players back until they're in the new kit. And there's all these sort of theories that go out, which I don't disagree with, but ultimately they also sort of get proven wrong. Maybe the one with De Jong is correct. I think if they sign Malacia or De Jong first, I don't think it's a issue for the club. I will think they will space the signings out. I think just in regards to the social media interaction, I think they won't want to sort of get everything sort of out of the way in one day. I think they will want to spread it out over a week. Borche here. Tom, do you know anything with United Open training in Melbourne? Only seen the one in Perth. There's none in Melbourne. Weirdly, they've got a few days in Perth and they've organised an open training session in Perth. In Melbourne, they're here for a week, and apparently Man United have said there's no time for an open training session in Melbourne. It is what it is. Manchester United over the last couple of years have spoken to a few people in America, and they've got the biggest supporters clubs. Man United don't care about these tours anymore, unfortunately. Fingers crossed they can get their act together and sort of reach out to supporters. You'd think they would try and engage to make the trip as enjoyable as possible and engage the fans, but they have done absolutely nothing on this tour, unfortunately. So the Man United Supporters Club do have a couple of contacts with some of the former players that are coming out, and we will sort of organise one or two things with them. But at the moment, those players don't even know their itinerary. They don't know what days they're going to dinners or functions. So until they land, we will organise something, but it will be very much short notice. So if you are a part of the Members Supporters Club, do stay on top of your social medias and emails. But unfortunately, our hands are tied with Man United sort of lack of, I don't know what, professionalism, engagement, just unfortunate. But Matt here saying grass is too long to train in Melbourne.
15 mil,
I thought about that with the MCG, the game there. I don't know if is AFL season on now. I assume the AFL season's on. It'll be interesting what the condition of the pitch is like in Melbourne. But that is, I don't know where they'll be training as well. I assume they've trained at Amy Park or maybe Melbourne Victory's training ground. I have no idea, but I'm sure that is something Erik Ten Hag does need to sort of go with, because he'll be training on the other side of the world in a couple of weeks. It's all sort of comfortable at Carrington. You're going to have to deal with a flight across the world and deal with Melbourne's the sporting intricacies, I'd say, down in Melbourne. It's obviously very complex dealing with football, AFL, rugby league, cricket, all those things. So talk about Christian Eriksen. I want to get into De Jong in a little bit. But the first one, Malacia. I'm going with Malacia. Tell me if I'm pronouncing that wrong in the live chat. Feel free. Or Rob, if you do know a little bit more about it. This one said a couple of days ago, it came out of nowhere. Lyon obviously looked like they were going to get the deal done. Man United sort of swooped in, and now looks like Man United going to get into it. Now, I don't have the tweet in front of me. I'll get it while you sort of give me your 2 cents. But David Ornstein has come out and spoken about there's a bit of an issue with he's changed agents or the agent's not happy. I'll get the tweet exactly up. What have you made of this? Is this just a weird coincidence, a bit of a stumbling block, or do you think this is, hang on, this is part of this transfer window, another bit of this circus, and Malacia's deal is actually sort of in jeopardy?
Definitely not in jeopardy. I just read something from Samuel Lockhurst just before we got on saying that everything is still confident it will happen. To be honest, it looks like his dad's getting a bit greedy and he wants the agent fees by the look of it. So, yeah, something with the agent. He doesn't want to, he wants his dad to.
Was there something in regards to, there was a bit of a connection with the De Jong deal in terms of their agents?
I think they had the same agent, possibly. That's the only connection. But yeah, as far as I read just now, it said they're still confident everything's going to happen.
Oh, so De Jong had the same agent as Malacia, and Malacia's got rid of that agent.
Something like that, yeah. Or it sounds like he's bringing in his dad because, like, his dad wants a payday or something like that. So, but yeah, they said, I just like said from what Samuel Lockhurst just said, everything looks confident. Should be like they reckon both of them should be over the line by the 8th of July. They're saying so. It's another week away, maybe to an unveiling or something. But I think we're definitely going to beat them. Well, we obviously have kind of beat Leon to the deal, and I actually kind of like this. I don't know if it's a coincidence, this strategy by United, how. We've all seen how many times we've been burnt through the years of, okay, United's linked to a player. We're always going to get that United tax.
Was my next point.
I kind of like how we've, obviously with this this other guy, Lisandro Martinez, how it looks like we're waiting in the shadows, letting everyone have not a bidding war, but letting everyone say, okay, this is nearly done. And then we've jumped in at the last second and said, okay, we'll see your 15 million and we'll up you another 2 million plus add-ons. And then the guy's gone, okay, Leon or United. Okay, I'm going United. Plus, I got the connection with Ten Hag. it's a no-brainer. So and Leon's not the kind of club that's going to fight a United, and I don't think the player straight away kind of came out and said, anyway, yep, I'm going to United, and we're kind of hoping with the rumors are true with this Lissandro Martinez, it might be in the same kind of situation, and I like it if that's their kind of new strategy.
Well, just on that, there was my next point, the one you bring up there, and in regards to Malacia, Joe from Stretford Paddock, I'm sure a lot of listeners do watch Stretford Paddock, and Joe will be with us in Melbourne. He's making the trip out, which will be good to catch up with him. He's a great guy. We met in Perth. He made a great point, and this is where I do get it from. It was simply along those lines saying, now, is this a coincidence? Is this what United are doing on purpose, or is it just how it's happened? But in regards to, let's call it a strategy, Rob, it is good because let's say we go in for Malacia 3 or 4 weeks ago. Young left back from Feyenoord, Man United want him, 30 million, 35 million sort of thing. That wouldn't shock you. What United have done now, whether they have done this or this is just how it's played out, United have said, okay, let's wait. Okay, Lyon have got that deal. So if Man United go to Feyenoord, we get charged 30, 40 million. Lyon have gone there and it's been 13 million. So Man United have then gone to Feyenoord and say, well, this is sort of what he's costing. This is what you're charging, 13 million. Yeah, that's the price. We'll give you 15 million, but we'll be generous. We really want him. Because suddenly if another club sets the price, because Man United setting the price, as I say, it's going to be 30, 40 million. Yep. And I'm just thinking, is this the case with the Martinez as well with Arsenal? Have Arsenal set the fee? Now, how this has played out, who knows? But let's say Arsenal have set a fee of what's Martinez say, 40 million. If United was going in their first bids, maybe 60, 70 million. I'm not saying that much, but you know what I mean? Is this potentially something like where United are sort of taking the reins back a little bit and lets others doing the dirty work, or are we reading a little bit too much into it?
No, I hope so. And you can nearly say that for, this bargaining they're trying to get, even with the Jong deal, how reportedly 65 million euros, not pounds, with obviously 20 million possible of add-ons. I still think that's pretty good, man, for this could be our marquee midfielder signing for Manchester United. A midfielder, to think that we got 50 million pounds for Fred a couple of years ago, I'd definitely say that Frankie de Jong is definitely our class above Fred. And, 65 million, like that, with all the add-ons, which we don't know, could be Champions League, could be Ballon d'Or, whatever they add on now, even if it does get to 80 million, I still think that's a pretty good deal, man, for a Frankie de Jong. So, yeah, look, up high, they're saying they're trying to change their strategies and stuff like that. They take all day, but, if they can save a little bit of money here and there or not get that typical United tax on every single deal, that's a good strategy to continue to try.
Yeah, I want to sort of touch on a little bit here. First time I've seen you in the chat, mate. Nakatuma, good to see. Any update on Frankie de Jong? I'll get to Frankie de Jong in a little bit because there's sort of one issue I do want to touch on there. But just on Malacia, the left back there, before we do move on, Rob, in regards to what do you make of it in regards to Brandon Williams is back, Alvaro Fernandez, who a lot of people around the club rate highly. We've still got 2 left backs who are on sort of considerable wages and do want first team spots. You bring in this Malacia, I don't know how many fullbacks that is, especially on the left-hand side. Diogo Dalot can play left back. Not that I like him there, but we're well stacked. Tellez and Shaw, one has to leave. Now, in my opinion, only one can leave. Now, I would opt for Alex Tellez to stay, Luke Shaw to leave. I know I might be in the minority there. I don't think we can sell Luke Shaw. I think this has to be the end of Alex Tellez.
Well, I completely. If I had to pick one, I'd be selling Shaw as well. He's been at the club for 8 years, man. I know he's had his troubles with injuries and so and so, but I honestly think Tellez could be coached a little bit better under Ten Hag. But yeah, I feel like I said, we're very stacked in that department, and one will have to make way. I think I seen today that Alvaro. I've just gone thinking, what's the young guy's name again? You just said his name, Alvaro.
From who? Alvaro Fernandez.
Yeah,
Fernandez,
sorry. I did see today possible loan for him, which I think is good. Like the younger ones, like him, Chong, they're gonna need more loans. I don't see them breaking into the squad. The thing is with all these Dutch players coming in with Ten Hag, I just think that it's his first season. He doesn't know the league. I just think it's a trust thing. I think he's trying to get as many players as he knows from players like, the Dutch league or players that he's played with or seen, just sort of trust thing and to try and implement his system. I think, next season, I think he'll start to look more in the Premier League after seeing players in the Premier League. He can probably do a little bit of his own scouting work, but I think it's a trust issue. We've seen last year how many players down tools, didn't turn up. We all thought we were going to have a change when Ralph Radnick came in and we're going to, play the high press in and this. We all got excited because we're going to have a new style. And we've seen that the players lasted first half of the Crystal Palace game and they gave up. So I think it's a trust issue. I think he wants to get as much deadwood out the door and bring in players. If he can bring 4 or 5 players that he knows and trusts, and then, we're trying to obviously coach them up or bring other players, he's got half a squad that's already got his system already in place.
Is that there's just one or two comments? Just jogged my memory of one point there I was discussing with a mate earlier, and we sort of brought this up previously. You talk about him sort of, I don't want to say Ajax 2.0, bringing all these players in that he likes in terms of Dutch players or Ajax players or players he has a relationship with. That's good, and I share all the sort of benefits and the strengths that'll bring. Does it add more pressure onto him? Because if they're his players and his signings that come in and they're the ones who don't work, ultimately think, hang on, why is he sort of trying to recreate something here? And is that something, I like it, but is it sort of adding a little bit unnecessary sort of pressure to him? Could he have maybe adopted a different sort of route?
It does, but like I said, for his first season, and because such a short preseason, well, he's got the preseason now. That's it. He doesn't know the players. Not like he's had, the back end of last season, like a Conte, kind of how he kind of got to know the players a bit. Then can have a full preseason and like a whole plan for the transfer window. He's got to get not only that, he's given his list with his obviously preference players. If he doesn't get them more players, he's going to have to work with what he got and what he gets. So, yeah, look, it is a risk. We've all seen how many players, again, I'll say from that couple of years ago, that Ajax team that made the semi-final that went here, there, and all the big clubs, and no one really, went to that next level. Frankie de Jong for one of them. So I'm hoping it does turn out.
Yeah, definitely good points there. Alan here, evening boys, any change in strategy is a good change, definitely. And Borja here, the football capital, he's been banging on about Edson Alvarez for a while. The only Ajax player we need, if we can't get here in Timber, is Edson Alvarez. He's obviously been banging that drum, and look, not someone I can comment on in regards to being an expert on him, but he's a name that's obviously been popped out. It wouldn't shock you if he goes to a Manchester City or something like that. But a bit of breaking news as well, maybe from Borche. Let's see if this is sort of credible. But Borche here from the Football Capital saying, Justin, Malacia's situation with his agent and father has already been resolved. The deal is agreed and the formal announcement is imminent. Thank you for that. So make sure you keep all ahead of Twitter and keep us up to date if anything does happen. It's good to be live with a lot of people on a Friday night. I'd say there are a few people in the live chat. Make sure you do smash a like on the video. If you think Man United are on the verge or should be on the verge of making a new signing, that would be great. And Dion here, in regards to De Jong, eventually City are going to pull our pants down because they can get it done. Is that a thing with you, Rob, in regards to, I still remember this with Jadon Sancho, maybe even to a bigger extent, maybe in Rafael Varane. No one was in for Jadon Sancho, only us. We had a free run. No one was in for Rafael Varane. We had a free run, and maybe you can understand, was there injury concerns with Rafael Varane? Have we made the wrong deal? I don't think so, but you could make a case that it was the wrong deal to do. I don't agree with that. But no one was in for Varane. Surely Barcelona want to sell, and Frankie de Jong's on the market. Shouldn't every single big club in world football be after him?
I'm thinking the exact same as everyone else. I can't believe there's no one out there. Like, I don't know if United have kind of, said, okay, they know the situation and they're kind of put their hand in the toes, or, some people don't value him at that or they don't need him as much. I don't know.
But if the price is down to like sort of under 60 million sort of thing.
I know.
Newcastle should be up. Aston Villa, Everton, they should be after him.
Yep. I don't know, man. That's what I mean. That's why I have said the whole time, I want him because we need players, but I'm very worried that he's not going to turn out, and especially for, like, as we've read, he hasn't been very, like, obviously, he's wanted to stay at Barca if he wanted to. He's more than like, he's been pushed out the door more than anything. So, yeah, obviously Ten Hag's there and he wants to sell him the project of, you're going to be my main man. But, mate, if he has a slow start or doesn't perform in the Premier League or can keep up in the Premier League, it's not going to be great, mate, if it's going to be our only midfield signing, because I believe that we still need midfielders. We've been screaming out for a defensive-minded midfielder for 5 years. He's not a defensive-minded midfielder. He's someone you can nearly say is going to be a Pogba replacement, nearly. We've lost a Matic, who's actually a CDM. I don't know, mate. I just think that we need a lot more midfielders to come in. Centre-back's gone quiet. I don't know why. Like, that was supposed to be nearly our... I haven't been hearing anything. Like I said at the start, centre-back is a big thing. I haven't heard anything about centre-back. Striker, no, even the Anthony rumors are starting.
Well, you're talking midfield in regards to how many midfielders have lost and were weak though already in regards to Nemanja Matic. The first position going into this transfer window was, as you say, centre back. I think Pau Torres was first, and there was another name. I forget the other central defender, Timber or Torres. They were the only two names linked at the start of the window. But then if you actually go back and look through the squad, you've got Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof, Eric Bailly, Phil Jones, Rafael Varane. You don't have to sell two or three before you bring one in. So is that a case where we are sort of maybe waiting to see what happens? Because if we can't sell an Eric Bailly, we can't sell a Phil Jones, Harry Maguire gets a new contract or something, you can't bring in another defender and have six sort of, not that Eric Bailly and Phil Jones are starting defenders, but you can't bring in another player to sit on the bench. I think the centre-back needs to be someone who's going to come in and make that defence stronger, because the defence was far too sort of weak in the previous season. So it will be interesting what happens. Just want to say good day to Adam, good mate of ours. I was on Man Cave United. Do follow them. You can see them all throughout our social medias. Speaking of kits, Adam, a little bit earlier, we're discussing this season's kits, so do let us know. But Man Cave United done a couple of sort of shows in recent weeks, sort of reviewing some old Manchester United kits. I'm not sure these kits will sort of go down in the sort of retro version in a couple of years and sort of classic kits. But who knows, if we win our first trophy in how many years, maybe they will. I think that is what makes a good kit. I think we always see these. Everyone hated the checkered, the tabletop one. It was our last title win. It's an iconic kick for me, sort of thing. So is there anything else? There is sort of one thing I do want to touch on before we do wrap up, but any other breaking news, Rob, or anything did sort of tickle your fancy during the week that you do want to discuss?
Just quickly, I might touch on the Romero links. I'll definitely take him back if it was.
Didn't he leave on sort of not great terms?
Well, I don't know. Like, I think he kind of just got left in the dark. I think the not great terms was there was like I think Everton came in for him and they're going to give us like 15, 20 million. And again, as normal, we didn't want to sell for some reason, so we had to wait and pretty much didn't play for another year. I think that's what it was. Remember, his wife came out.
Yeah, it was in regards to the wife. And look, maybe behind the scenes it was fine, but it did look not a messy situation. It was just United could have done better by him. So it is 100%. Weird to see that rumour back.
Look, I've seen the random rumour. I'll take him back, man, as a backup goalkeeper. Obviously, we've seen Henderson's going to go to Nottingham Forest. That looks like it's going to happen in the next day or two. Well, he'd be great, though, especially in the Europa League. He was the one that you won us the Europa League, played the whole Europa League. So, yeah, he's got a connection with the thing, and he was a top goalkeeper. I don't know how old he is right now, but goalkeeper years is always... You always have a bit extra anyway.
No, definitely. And I'd love to get everyone's thoughts on this in the live chat. Obviously, we are an Australian Man United podcast, so we try not to sort of touch on A-League too much. But Man United's not our next game. Our next game is against Liverpool, but the game after that is against Melbourne Victory, or it's one of the games in Melbourne. I think we're playing Melbourne Victory. We are going to have a future or an ex-Manchester United player line up against Man United, very likely. Obviously, there's no introduction to any Man United fans, but Nani is obviously going on the verge of signing for Melbourne Victory. Just your thoughts on that in regards to you sort of watch a little bit of A-League on and off here or there. We are going to be playing against Melbourne Victory in a couple of weeks' time. I don't follow the A-League. I don't follow it closely. When Nani's on the TV, I want to watch it. It's going to get me tuned in.
Well, look, I hope for starters it does better than Daniel Sturridge, who came out last year. And he played about 20 minutes in the whole season. But look, man, it's a marquee signing that the A-League need. He's going to get bumps on seats. If he can play consistently, obviously as United fans, it's a big attraction and stuff. So yeah, I don't know how far off it. Like I said, I'm not right in the whole A-League thing as much as other people, but if it would be pretty good if he was to like cross the line and actually line up against United in the next 2 weeks. That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. As I said, I'll be definitely tuning in. Adam here saying great bye. United here saying Super Nani is pure quality. Look, a quality play left on. I had a love-hate relationship with Nani at the end of his time at United. I thought he got so sort of frustrated at times, but on his day, like he was sort of unfortunately given the burden of having to sort of replace Ronaldo and sort of step out of the shadows when Ronaldo left. And obviously that's an impossible task. No footballer could do that, but he did it pretty well. I think it was the 10-11. He was player of the season, or very, very much close to player of the season. Pretty much didn't take us to a title, but he's the main player for us. I think he did win the Sir Matt Busby Player of the Year that season. So he does have unreal ability, and it would be great to see, obviously, the Man United Supporters Club here. We're not in Melbourne, but obviously half the A-League teams are in Sydney, so make sure you are signed up to the Supporters Club here, because when Nani makes one of his, 4 or 5 trips to Sydney throughout the season, I'm sure we'll be able to line maybe 1 or 2 things up with him at the pub potential. I don't know if Nani's a drinker or not, but I'm sure we'll be able to do 1 or 2 things with him, fingers crossed. But that is for all members in Sydney. Make sure you do sort of sign up. The link is in the description below for the Man United Supporters Club. Now, anything else sort of breaking on Twitter before we do sort of wrap things up, Rob? But I'll just have a quick scroll through Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein's tweets. But anything else there? You do mention, or you mentioned before in regards to just your last point. Romero. Your last point before we put that. Romero, that was the one in terms of Dean Henderson's gone to Forest, but Tom Heaton's still kicking around. I'm just thinking, Man United, we don't mind signing a goalkeeper. So while I don't think it'll be Sergio Romero, there was a couple of links a couple of weeks ago that it was going to be Sam Johnston. I think someone said Sam Johnston is likely off to Crystal Palace. So I don't think that's going to happen. But could you see a situation in regards to whether it be Romero or Heaton or whatever, with Henderson leaving the club on loan, is there a need to bring in a different reserve keeper in, or is Tom Heaton good enough?
Look, I think Tom Heaton's good enough because if it's going to be Heaton, I think De Gea nearly plays every game of the season. I don't see him being the thing. But if it's someone like a Romero comes in, I can see him very much being like it was back then, how they kind of share it. He plays the cup games, possibly Europa, and Premier League is for David. So, yeah, look, you need two good goalkeepers, I always say. Obviously, the situation we had and the wages we're paying out for both our goalkeepers was ridiculous, the situation we put ourselves in. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see even with Henderson. A lot of people kind of saying that, David, he's only got a year left on his contract. If he doesn't hit the ground running and or impressed, playing out from the back and all the stuff like Ten Hag once this year, maybe he could go and Henderson could, if he has a good year at Nottingham Forest, he could step back in and possibly have the number one shirt again. So lots of question marks over that, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't put it past Man United's first signing to be a goalkeeper. That is the times we do live in. Good mate of ours, Ian, NPL is better to watch than the A-League. Steve, good to see you in here, mate. No new signings, no new kit. Glazers out. Yes, we did go live hoping that we would be sort of talking about the official new kit and maybe Christian Eriksen wearing it, but unfortunately not the case. I'm sure as soon as we finish this live stream, something will break. But I assume that kit will be announced today. And you'd love to see a Man United player in it. Whether Man United can sort of coordinate themselves to make that happen, I'm not quite sure. But Matt here, I hope Hendo never wears United shirt again. I'm mixed on Henderson. I like his confidence. That confidence comes with being a number one goalkeeper. He hasn't been good enough to displace David De Gea, so I think that confidence is a little bit misplaced. But I would love nothing more than an academy product to come. When's the last academy product who went on to become Manchester United's goalkeeper? I can't remember. Ben Foster sort of dribbled around first team for a little bit. But it's not something that quite often happens. You see sort of attackers or fullbacks, never really a goalkeeper. So there was one more comment here. Emad here. I'll get your thoughts on Rob here. Andreas Pirlo, preseason Pirlo, make Rob talk about him. We can talk about Andreas Pereira or Scott McTominay. I'm sure Emad and I can sort of gang up on Rob and give our thoughts on him, but we'll leave McTominay for another podcast. Andreas Pereira, the latest with him.
We heard the little rumors about Fulham 10 million the other day. Now, if that was true, I'd snatch their hands off. I actually read he actually got interviewed the other day and came out and said, I'm happy to stay in Brazil and at Flamengo. It's not up to me, it's up to Manchester United. So, mate, if it's 5 million, if it's 3 million, if it's 1 million, I told you, there's players like that. That's just deadwood. We just need to get him off the books. It's got to get to a point. Even if he had a contract, pay him out. Just that's it. Part ways, and that's it. He's never going to get close to the team.
See, I agree with you. And I'm sure everyone in the live chat agrees, and I agree. But you say that, okay? Fulham offer 10 million. Both of us here snap their hand off. Take the 10 million. I don't think have a sort of sit back and have a think about it. I don't think United will accept that. Now, obviously they should,
they won't.
But I don't think they will. So suddenly, what happens is Andreas Pereira stays. They're unable to offload him. Suddenly he stays. Then he's used. Ten Hag is not forced to use him, but he's part of the squad. He gets sort of forced to use him. So that is unfortunately where a lot of our issues do sort of start from. In terms of things make so much sense for us. 10 million for Andreas Pereira, bang, move on.
It's the wages, it's everything. I just don't. Even if they're going to sell 5 players. Even if it's going to bring one player in, 10 million here, 5 million here, 10 million here. If they can raise 30 million from getting dead people off the books, 5 players that are not going to go next to the team, just to make 30, 40 million for, even if it is a backup left back or something like that, at least someone's going to come in the team and possibly add to the team. He's had about 1 million loans, that guy, in every single league. He doesn't make it. He's back in Brazil. He wants to stay in Brazil. Just don't come back up. Players like that shouldn't even be thought of. You shouldn't be bringing players on a preseason tour that aren't going to be like. I don't even think someone like a Erik buying and stuff like that. They shouldn't be even if they're not sold, don't put them on the plane.
I still remember the last preseason tour with Romelu Lukaku. Well, obviously we went to Perth, and he spent the whole time in the hotel on a bike. He was fit. He didn't go out on the training field. We went to a few of the trainings. We watched a team on the field, and he was up in sort of overlooking training by himself on the bike. I just think, what's the point? Surely they could have gone to a kid sort of thing. It's one of those things, unfortunately. But I just sort of 1 or 2 comments do want to sort of touch on and sort of say good day to you before we do wrap up. But there is over 100 in the live chat, so please do leave a like on the video. Great sort of numbers joining us on a Friday night. And anything breaking, sort of do get your thoughts in, and we're keen to discuss it. I'm sure Rob isn't in a rush to head off. But in regards to the goalkeeping situation, Adam makes a point here. Mark Bosnich, technically a youth product, didn't come through, obviously left and came back. But technically, not that he had a sustained period at Manchester United. Obviously, had that one season. But a gift here saying, I prefer a good defensive midfielder, which is still, I think a lot of people sort of do lean towards. We do have so many needs.
Tillemans, why are we not going for Tillemans? 25 million. We're not even.
It does seem like Arsenal are all over that.
I don't understand. But like I said, it's just if we need him or not, 25 million, 30 million, we should be in that discussion. We need midfielders. He's a Premier League proven midfielder. Like I said, put a bid in for him. If we get him or not, or if he's a Premier League proven midfielder. I just don't understand players like that and the amount of players that we've already seen bought from other clubs at decent prices that we need. So I mean, if we don't buy, like I said, I don't. If Frankie de Jong's our only midfielder, I don't think. I think he hasn't been backed properly.
Yeah,
I really don't think he's been backed properly because if anything, he's just replacing someone that's.
But the scary thing is, and look, I agree with you. But the scary thing is, what a name like a Frankie de Jong, and could you imagine the fanfare when he's announced as a signing? It will be good enough for a lot of fans. You'll think, oh, hang on, yeah, we got our man. That's the man Erik ten Hag wanted, and there'll be this fanfare. There'll be this excitement. United will sort of milk it for everything it's worth on social media, and we'll forget the real needs. We'll forget the squad depth. We'll forget right back or left back. We'll forget all these things because we'll get caught up in the hype of a new kit or Frankie de Jong sort of scoring a goal in pre-season. We'll lose track of sort of what's important. And Tad here, good to see you, mate. Good old pre-season Perlo. It's a cracking name for him, to be fair. I know a lot of people do use it, but it just sort of rolls off the tongue, and he does genuinely turn into it. Erik, good to see you. Cheers, guys. Buying that Frankie will be unveiled at Old Trafford this week. And I heard that. I'm just thinking, in front of who? There's no games at Old Trafford or anything, but I did hear that in regards to, and from one or two sort of I wouldn't say reliable people you sort of do hold a little bit of weight against their opinion, and they did say that, but I thought, well, it would be a little bit embarrassing unveiling him in front of sort of no one. But who knows, there potentially is something like that. Now, there are sort of a lot of comments flying in, so don't want to sort of miss any, but there are a few flying in. So, Joseph here, haven't seen you in the live chat. Hope you're good, mate. Make sure you are subscribed. Lindelof should leave 2 or 3 years ago here, and I think Emad here, so obviously a big fan of Victor Lindelof. 2 or 3 years ago, I would have agreed with that. I had my sort of time with Lindelof. I said, move on. However, I think he has not kicked on to the level I think is needed to be successful at Man United, but he's improved. And he's someone I sort of never really sort of questioned his work rate or desire. So I have questions over Lindelof being the perfect man at the back for us. But ultimately, given some of the performances of other players, Harry Maguire or players further forward, I think Lindelof sort of done himself okay, and sort of, who knows, it could be a main man under Erik ten Hag. I think he's one of those ones, in terms of the way he plays the game, you could potentially see a future for him under Erik ten Hag. What are you thinking of Lindelof's sort of chances? First game of the season, Rob, against who we got, Brighton.
I like
centre-back pairing.
Yeah, look, he's there. He's starting to train now, as we said, that week before.
There's centre-back pairing, Rafael Varane, Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof. Who's playing for you?
Look, I'm going to say Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire. I'm going to shock some eyebrows, mate. I don't know. Like I said,
you just assume that Varane's going to be injured?
Yeah, mate. I was so you were with me last. We done the unveiling of him last season, and I was so G'd up when we got him along with Sancho. I really expected more, and I was bitterly disappointed. Look, I know he had an injury riddled season, but Champions League Varane, I really thought he was the one that was going to fix our whole back line, but I think Lindelof, with either of those two complements him, to be honest. I think he's the one that nearly should start. Yes, look, everyone's got a mistake in him, but he's very calm on the ball. He can pass the ball out from the back. Look, I guess everyone's gonna get a bit of a clean slate, but just a quick question for you. Is there a lot of pressure on Donny van de Beek? Because I think this guy's going to have nearly all the pressure. They're treating him like a bit of a new signing. He's obviously been in the Ajax system. If he partners in a midfield too with Frankie de Jong, he hasn't had the greatest, start to his Premier League. Obviously, he didn't get much time at United. Went on Everton loan last season. Nothing really happened. He's come in. Everyone thinks that he's going to be, obviously under the Ten Hag system, he's going to be this new big bust-out player. I'm worried about him. I don't know if he's strong enough. I don't know if it's going to happen for him. Obviously, we want it to be.
I think he'll really benefit from us being, whether he plays in the Europa League or not, or if we're going to have two teams. Now, we all think we're going to have two teams. 9 times out of 10, for the first couple of games in the Europa League, it's your strongest 11. Your team plays 2 times a week. But in our minds, we think we'll have a team for a Saturday and we'll have a team for a Thursday. Fingers crossed, because you'd like to see that. You'd like to see the squad utilised. I think what Donny van de Beek needs, he needs to be the player of the pre-season. He needs to turn up and be our standout player and sort of work his way in the team, because obviously Bruno Fernandes is going to come back. Whatever we think of Fred and McTominay, they're going to come back in. They're sort of experienced pros that ultimately have performed better for managers in the Premier League. So they're maybe starting a little bit ahead of Donny van de Beek, whether we agree or disagree on that. I think that is what the club and sort of football sees that as. So I think Donny van de Beek needs to be the player of pre-season to sort of give himself the bit. And he's back there getting fit now, which we started at the start of the episode in regards to the importance of those players sort of getting a head start. one or two things. And just you mentioned a point there in regards to the pressure on him and sort of the role he could potentially play. The guy we started this podcast with, Malacia, I'm just thinking, let's say Tellez leaves, Luke Shaw and Malacia. I really see it as a sign-in, obviously a young player, we say for any young sign, it's a sign-in for the future. But I think a lot of people will think he's going to be the left back. I don't think he would. I think at his age, I think it is a sign-in for Ten Hag saying, look, he's the player I wanted if I was at Ajax. He's the player I tried to get from Feyenoord to Ajax. He's a player for the future. I think Luke Shaw is, whether I agree with this or not, I think Luke Shaw is going to be the first choice left back, hands down, over Malacia, if Malacia does come in. Just your thoughts on that. Do you see him as a first-team signing? Because I see him as almost in that, not Jimmy Garner role, but he's a Europa League player for me.
Definitely Europa League player. Honestly, for me, if he does get announced in the next week, obviously he's got a full preseason. If he can challenge or on the preseason or show Ten Hag, I can give a run with your Luke Shaw or your Alex Tellez. Or if he can obviously implement the system better than a Luke Shaw, bomb up and down, still defensively sound, I reckon he can challenge for that first spot against Brighton and Brentford in the first two games. Maybe not Liverpool. Obviously that'll be a big game. Such a big game for a young guy and a new thing. But I don't see why he can't challenge for a spot in that first one or two games, especially like I said, if he has a big preseason.
It'll be interesting. I was just thinking, we're talking about kits. And I was thinking, here we are. We're not going to get into the debate. We don't want to bore the people in, sort of go head to head in regards to the Scott McTominay debate. But I was thinking, should Scott McTominay get a new number? But I was thinking, Donny van der Beek has 34. Maybe he's in due for a bit of a better number. But I remember he chose that off the back of his friend, that unfortunate incident at Ajax where he fell ill. So obviously 34 is quite an important number to him. But I'll just go to some comments here before we start to wrap up. A few people still talking about Victor Lindelof. A good little milestone here. Didn't realise, but obviously a few in the live chat. I think we've just reached 1,000 subscribers, which is a unbelievable achievement. Shame Larry, pleasure to have Rob on joining me for that. But I'm shame Larry wasn't on to join us, but I'm sure Larry will be all over it. Congratulations on 1,000 subscribers. Look, unbelievable achievement. We started this obviously as an audio version, a podcast. Larry and I used to go to the pub, we get an iPhone, put the iPhone down on the middle of the table, and just talk, because we were sort of sick of sort of dialoguing over Facebook and Twitter and all these opinions. We just wanted to talk face to face. It was something that was sort of going out of style, and what better sort of setting than discussing Man United and football at a pub. Now, obviously, COVID hit, and so everything sort of moved online, and we sort of moved towards YouTube, and which is great to turn back. But to start this pretty much a year ago, maybe you mentioned that Rafael Varane stream this time last season, in terms of. So I've been about a year on YouTube, and look, I don't want to start going on thanking people, because I know I would sort of miss out on so many names. So I don't want to sort of mention any names, but I think everyone does know sort of the usual suspects I do want to thank. And I just want to echo those thoughts. I know Larry is saying the same thing, so I don't want to go say everything, but thank you from the bottom of our heart. That is great. And anything else to add, Rob, before we do wrap up?
No, look, again, congratulations on the big 1K milestone. It's been a pleasure a few times from the pod and on live streaming to be your bench substitute, which I've always enjoyed. And look, you guys, you and Larry have done a madness, and I hope you guys continue. I've been listening since day one, episode one, and we'll continue to listen, mate. So yeah, congratulations to all. And look, tonight you can see, mate, the buzz, the live stream's been buzzing, mate. It's been great for the interaction as well. Yeah,
look, apologies if I don't get to your comments in the live chat, as we don't usually get this many in the live chat, which is great. But if there are a lot of live chats going in, do occasionally got to miss a few. So do appreciate everyone's interaction. It is always good, because if you are new to the podcast, a lot of us, I wouldn't say have extreme views, but a lot of different views. But the debate is never sort of toxic, or we don't go abusing people sort of thing. Me and Rob sort of butt heads on a few things, but we'll definitely see both sides of the argument. So it is good seeing everyone in the live chat. And Rob just makes the point there in regards to what Larry and I try to provide, especially for those people in Sydney. It's maybe a little bit harder around the world, but especially if you are in Sydney, Australia, meet us in person. Feel free. Come to the pub, and we'll do these at the pub sort of thing. And how many relationships we sort of formed from this, Rob, in regards to this podcast? We've got people going down to Melbourne with us, like friends for a lifetime off the back of this podcast, 100%. Which it sounds silly, like it's just a couple of guys talking about Man United. But ultimately, it has developed into that. I don't know how, but it has. And what a pleasure it has been over the last year or two.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Like I said, we've got especially got our little group, every day we talk on our group chat. When we have our pub meets for games, it's always good to have a feed or drink before the game. And look, that's why we're all buzzing for 2 weeks away, mate. like I said, Ian in the live chat is coming all the way from Perth to meet us down there again. You know, last time we seen him was the Europa League final in Sydney again. So look, it'll be
Thanks
great
for
to
bringing that up.
yeah, it'll be good. I know, sorry, but look, it'll be great to see all the usual faces, and it'll be definitely good to see the new faces. So yeah, if you see us around, definitely come and have a beer with us.
Yeah, no, that is all we're doing. So we're down there. Man United do kick off well, we play Liverpool before that, but in Melbourne in 2 weeks' time. I'll be down there from Wednesday the 13th to Wednesday the 20th. That's the length of time Man United are in Melbourne for. So if you are going down there, whether you're Australian or travelling from overseas, feel free to come say hi. As I said, we'll be doing a few events. More than welcome to come and join us. So there were one or two. I think there's still a bit of a Lindelof debate happening in the live chat, which is good to see. So I do appreciate all that interaction. But I'll just have one last scroll through Twitter, Rob. There's just one comment in here from Ian, just as we gather our thoughts to wrap up. You don't just talk about Man United, Tom, you provide insight and always have a great appreciation for both sides of the arguments and opinions. Thank you, Ian. That sounds very nice. But I think that's just one of the things, even when I give my opinion, and here we'll finish at why not, Rob, on Scott McTominay. A lot of my opinions on Scott McTominay, here I am. I agree with the other side. Like, I wouldn't say I disagree with my own opinion. I think that's impossible. But I agree with the other sides. It's just, I will show another side, which I think some people sometimes neglect. And I think that is important. I think so many big platforms on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube are set in stone with their opinion. And I think that naturally everyone is set in stone in their opinion. That's why you believe that. But ultimately, if you aren't willing to accept the other side or sort of not educate yourself, but be open to be sort of proven wrong, you're never going to get anywhere in a debate. It's just going to become a shit-slinging contest and you're not going to get anywhere. So I do sort of appreciate everyone's sort of, I would say, composure and patience and sort of level-headedness in the live chat. It has been a pleasure over the years. I think there's no one has ever sort of been stupid in the live chat, has there, Rob?
No, mate. Look, and I've watched nearly every show. Even when we've gone through the worst of times, mate, we've always found
there's been some bad times.
We've had to scrape the bottom of the barrel a few times. But look, mate, that's it. We all love United. We're all a big United family through good and bad, and hopefully the glory days will one day come back again. But look, whatever it is, we'll be there talking about it.
Well, I don't hope they better come back. I don't hope they come back. Eriksen better bring him back because I don't know. It's nice being patient for these couple of years. But this decade turns into 2 decades and then turns into what Liverpool had to go through. I don't think I'll be able to cope with that. But look, all things and all, it does look there are huge concerns around Manchester United at the moment, no doubt. There is a type of positivity there, and whether that's false hope, it's just a natural, I'm sure, Burnley fans, I'm sure they got relegated and they've still got hope that they're going to be promoted. I'm sure every fan around whatever sort of country they support their football club in does have that hope before a season. But there is something about United, whether that's Erik ten Hag, whether that's a change in sort of structure, a new signing here or there is a positive feel, but there are still huge concerns. And we'll be back, obviously, in a day or two discussing those huge concerns, hopefully sprinkled with maybe a new sign-in to give us a little bit more positivity. But I'm the King here. Good to see you. Everyone smash that like button. It would be great if you could keep hitting that like button. If you are new, if you could subscribe, that would be great. Who knows if we'll be live in 20 minutes when they announce Christian Eriksen as a free transfer. Who knows? So make sure you do hit that notification bell because these live chats are sort of really good. And as said, far more enjoyable, in my opinion, than some of the other channels in regards to you can get your opinion across and
Stretford Paddock. Hello, boys.
Stretford Paddock, good to see you, lads. I'm obviously down in Melbourne in a couple of weeks. The first beer's on us, no doubt. I'm sure everyone is in the live chat, obviously subscribed to Stretford Paddock. We were discussing Joe's points a little bit earlier in regards to that. He made a great point in regards to Man United swooping in and letting the other clubs do the dirty work. So make sure you do subscribe to Stretford Paddock, and we'll obviously be with those lads down in Melbourne in a couple of weeks. But Ellie here, good to see you. We were discussing this at the start. We discussed the kits. Does anyone know when the kit is coming out? I'll assume the next couple of hours. I thought it was going to be at 9 a.m. UK time, but it wasn't the case. But Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure. One for a great chat as always, but obviously reaching that milestone. I would have loved to have Larry on, but next best replacement, obviously yourself. But much on the weekend?
No, not much. No sports. Got a little bit of Formula 1 to watch to keep me fit the weekend. But look, said, mate, count down those days to 2 weeks and we'll be in Melbourne finally watching some United again and spending some glazer money on those kits again.
Yep, making hypocrites of ourselves every day. Adam here saying any chance Melbourne tour have been cancelled, everything's been organised. But I think Perth just kept the same sort of events. They did the groundwork there in 2019. And what I would say for those people in Melbourne worried about those events, I think that the best events are always the ones that are the spontaneous and just run by the supporters clubs. Like in Perth, there'll be a great tour over there. The open training session is what it is. Players do a couple of laps, have a couple of shots. That is what it is. The other thing is a corporate dinner where you have to pay a lot of money to go and watch Brian Robson say who was your toughest opponent. Good for if you want it, but if you want to pay $300 or $400 for that, feel free. And the other one is a fan day where you have thousands of fans sort of approaching one venue, which is great. But also here, Brian Robson, who was your hardest opponent? What's your favourite memory? Would you have heard all those answers before? But what the supporters clubs are able to do is sort of get those a little bit more of an intimate venue and sort of a little bit more interaction with sort of like-minded Reds and hopefully the former players. But stay tuned to everything on social media. That'll be great. Larry and I, Rob, and a lot of people in the live chat will be sort of down there within Melbourne. So we'll obviously probably do a video every day. Obviously link up with the Stretford Paddock lads over a couple of beers. And look, Rob, fingers crossed there'll be a few extra Manchester United players to discuss then, and we're not having to discuss pre-season furlough. What do you reckon? To finish this, against Melbourne victory, 4-4-2, Scott McTominay, Andreas Pirlo. Give us your thoughts. Are you making it through to halftime?
I don't even know if I'll even make it kickoff if I see that lineup before. Oh, look, man, it's going to be Donny and Frankie de Jong, mate, for the first half. Definitely has to be.
No, definitely. Fingers crossed. As I said, please do hit that notification bell, because if a sign-in is announced, if it's 3 a.m. Sydney time, obviously, but if a sign-in is announced, we definitely will go back live to discuss that. So pleasure as always. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. Smash a like on the video, and we'll chat to you when we chat to you, hopefully discussing a new signing. Cheers.
Cheers.